So welcome back. This is the 5-month, 10,000 mile review of the Coachman Cross Trail Extreme. Again, this is a 2024 model, and we've now driven a little over 10,000 miles. We've had it for about 5 months, kind of crisscrossing back and forth across the country. I actually just finished a trip that was 2,500 miles in about 4.5 days. A lot of headwinds. Seems like you couldn't drive that far and always have a headwind, but it felt like we did. But anyway, we made it. We're in Northwest Washington now, and I thought it was a good time to do a review of how we feel about not just the Coachman part of it, but the Ford Transit part of it. And if you watch the videos, you know that we also had a 2020 Tiffin Wayfarer, which is on a Mercedes Sprinter chassis, and then we had a 2022 Thor Sequence that was on a Dodge ProMaster chassis. This is on the Ford Transit chassis. So now I've had the opportunity to own recent models of all three chassis that are primarily used by the RV manufacturers for Class Bs and Class Cs. And I feel like that gives me an opportunity to share my experience with what I like and don't like. And so we'll start with the Ford Transit in this review. And again, just mentioned 2,500 miles, sometimes 12 hours a day behind the wheel. And I've done that in the other two as well. And I've got to say, even though the Mercedes Sprinter cost a lot more, it was a much easier drive in this Ford Transit. And a good reason for that is all the features that Ford builds into these. You've got a great lane keep assist. You've got intelligent cruise control. You've got collision assist and a lot of other features that just make it really nice and enjoyable. And you can focus on a lot of other things than those things. So this size screen is fantastic as well. If you've got Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, it integrates super well. Now Coachman added this, and we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but rather than a rear view mirror, you have a monitor system, and you've got a set of 3 cameras, a backup camera, and then 2 side cameras, and you can set it to be full-time anywhere you want. And typically I'll change the mode to where when I'm driving down the road, this will only show what's behind me. And I find that pretty useful. So I like that a lot. I think this was a great feature to add. But overall, Ford has done a great job with the Transit. I like the styling as well. I think the Mercedes looks good. I think the Dodge ProMaster looks good. I think the Ford Transit looks a little bit better than those. And this one comes with a lot of different options. You've got a brush guard on the front with LED lighting, which I really like. This one's lifted, all-terrain tires. It's all-wheel drive. Adds a lot of reassurance during, mud and rut, slippery, snow and ice, all of those things. And we've used all of those things. And they're features I wouldn't want to go back to having without. Because if you watched again, you realize we're not campground people. We don't make those reservations. We don't go to those places. We don't get packed in. We like to be out further and stay longer than a lot of others do. This is definitely the coach that you want to do that in. So I think that's about enough for the Ford Transit side of it. And now we'll go over and talk about the Coachman side of it. Now, before I get to the Coachman side of it, there's one thing I neglected to say about the Ford side of it. And that's kind of a downside for me, is the gas mileage. It's not bad. I get about 13 to 15 miles to the gallon, depending on the conditions. And a lot of people would say that's good. I was actually hoping for much better. The reason it's not better are reasons I probably wouldn't give up, and that is it's full-time all-wheel drive. That adds a whole lot of safety to your drive, but it takes away from your gas mileage. It's also lifted up several inches. That takes away from your gas mileage, but I like to have that clearance. It has all-terrain tires, whereas highway tires would give you a little bit better gas mileage. I wouldn't trade the highway or the all-terrain tires either. It also has dualies. That gives you a lot of stability when you're driving and when you're going in the mud and rut and traction and all of that. So I wouldn't trade that either. Finally, it has a second alternator in the engine that feeds your batteries. And this coach has 800 hours of lithium batteries, and that was a big part of why we bought it. So the ability to charge your batteries while we're driving is a big deal. Those things all affect your gas mileage in the negative, but I don't think I would change them all to get better gas mileage. I just still wish I had better gas mileage. So we'll move on to the Coachman side of this now. And I would say, I'm going to summary it before I talk about it. And the summary is, we're just as happy with the Coachman side of it as we are with the Ford side of it. I think Coachman did a fantastic job. There's a few things that if you went back to the other videos, you'll see. Why didn't they put fantastic fans in? Why did they do a few other things? I don't know, but like any other RVer, when you buy an RV, you're going to do modifications to make it yours and make yourself more comfortable in it. I think Coachman did a fantastic job in so many areas, and we'll talk about a few of those. So some of the modifications that we did are small, some are big, but there are a few game changers that I really want to highlight in this Coachman Cross Trail. And one of them is the way it's built. It makes it very easy to do something like this. And this for us was a game changer. We used to go and have fitted things for the front windows and the windshield to give yourself privacy. And with this curtain here, you put the runner up there and put this in, and when you park and you're staying for the night, or you get up in the morning, you're ready to leave, you're literally talking 2 seconds to give you full and complete privacy and take out that light to back the other way. And that has been a game changer. That's really, really nice to have, especially when you're parked somewhere and you unexpectedly have to move somewhere else maybe. It's nice not to have to pull everything out of the windows, roll them up, put them away, and then bring them all out again. This is just a few seconds, and boy, it has been a game changer for us. And not every RV is built in a way that you can install something like this, but this one was, so we're really happy about that. Before we talk about more modifications, I want to go back to, we've only had 2 what you would call warranty issues with this coach. And one, if you remember the monitor that replaced the rear view, one of the cameras went out, the left turn camera went out, and we did some troubleshooting and found out that it wasn't actually the camera, it was either the wiring or the monitor itself. So contacted the dealership, motorhome specialist where we bought it, and they thought it was probably going to be the camera. They did some troubleshooting as well. I'm sorry, not the camera, the monitor. But we couldn't time it right to be there when the equipment came in. So they actually overnighted and mailed it to us so that we can put it in. And we're going to be doing that as soon as we can and get that worked out. The other issue was in the shower. One of the sides leaked a little bit, and we knew because it actually leaked into the shower pan. So it wasn't an issue, it didn't cause any damage, and it wasn't a big leak, but in an RV, you don't want any leaks anywhere. So we pulled the panel off and saw that the issue was that the PEX was a little bit too long for the hot side. It was just cut a little bit high, and so it put tension on that PEX line that it shouldn't have. And so we just took the line off, trimmed it down a little bit, put it back on, put it back together, no more leaks. So far, those are the only 2 warranty issues that we've had. And that's really surprising because this is our 6th RV. Most of them have been new. All of them have issues. It's just something you come to expect when you buy an RV. This is a house you're driving down the road and going over bumps with and turning corners with and getting hit by wind and weather and everything. You're going to have issues with it. There's just no way around that. The handier you are, the better it's going to be for you, because getting an appointment at a dealership and getting things fixed and fixed right is very challenging. So the more you can do yourself, the better off you're going to be. Our anticipation is that we'd have far more challenges, whether it's electrical, plumbing, carpentry, whatever, than we've had. Far more. We've had very, very little, and that speaks to Coachman's design and build quality. And part of the reason that we expected more issues is all of the feedback that we've seen and all the videos we've seen about COVID and how that's affected the manufacturing process. A lot of labor issues. They didn't get maybe the talent that they used to have, or they didn't come back, or I don't know what, but they were putting out a lot of very challenging RVs, and a lot of you got them, and that's very unfortunate. Even your higher end builds like Newmar and Tiffin were having a lot of build quality issues, and these RVs were spending more time in the shop than they weren't, and we've just not had that. And you know, were we lucky in this particular one, and other Cross Trail Extremes have been more challenging? I haven't seen any of that, so I don't think that we were lucky. I think that these just came out the way they were designed and engineered, and the manufacturing happened to be very good. So we're the recipients of that. We're very happy about that. So we'll move on to a couple of other things. Some of the easy mods that we did, and changes that we've shown is just, again, making it your own and adding shelving and storage. And storage was a big one that I think Coachman could have done a better job. But with a little ingenuity, you can go in and create storage that isn't actually there, make things work a little better. And if you go back to my modification video, you'll see where we did a lot of those things when it came to storage. Another one was placement of the TV. And there's only one TV in this coach, and it was placed up here above the driver and passenger seat. And other people that have reviewed this have seen that, and they wondered the same thing, like, I don't know if that's good, I don't know if it works. It actually doesn't work. We took that down, put a mirror up there to cover everything up, and moved the TV to the bedroom. It was actually a very, very easy modification. Because of the brackets they have for the bed, you can use those same brackets to mount your TV. Then on the other side of that, the bed moves up and down, which is great, and we use that all the time, but it didn't have a headboard, so we built that. That was more of a challenging because you can't buy that off the shelf anywhere. You literally have to build it. So we installed that. That helped a lot. It keeps your pillows in place, and that was a game changer modification there that we really like. Let's see. The big one. One of the big ones was the sink. This, I tell you, looked terrible. And if you go to the RV shows or the dealership, and the sink stands out as not very useful and not very attractive. So go to Lowe's. This is a little under $200, so it's not super cheap, but it is a game changer. I think this looks really nice. I think it certainly the depth of it. And the hard part was actually finding the right sink, because you've only got so much space to use. It's not an easy modification because you've got some plumbing fixtures you've got to change. You've got to cut some wood out here and there to make the lines work. But this sink will work. So I do recommend that. It has made life much easier for us on the road with the depth that this sink has. We also changed the fixture as well and added the soap dispenser in it. So that we like a lot. Another game changer. I like that Coachman put 300 watts of solar on the roof. I also like that there's plenty of room to add solar on the roof. So we added 2 more 100-watt panels. So we've got 500 watts up there. It actually made a much bigger difference than I thought it would. So we're really happy about that. And that was a relatively easy one because the electrical side of it is plug and play. Very, very easy to do. There's a lot of videos on that. So that made it a big difference, because when you're out boondocking and you want to stay where you are, the only way to recharge your batteries for us was solar. And that was a game changer. I really could see the difference that another 200 watts made up there. Let's see, what else have we got? Things still to do. We're not completely done yet. We've got 2 challenges that we're trying to work through, and the first one we've about got it whipped, and that is filtration. It's another thing. What was Coachman thinking? There is no filtration for water in this rig at all. Now, like most RVers, we buy the little adapter that you can get anywhere, at Walmart or anywhere, and you put it on the end of the hose, and that filters your water coming into your tank. So that's step one. That's good. But if you're drinking the water, you want more filtration than that. And Coachman just did not put it in here. Most RVs under the sink will have a filtration for water that comes out of the tap. This one did not. So we're adding that in. We've just had challenges finding the adapter, which is not, it's a pretty common adapter, and Lowe's stocks it and carries it, but the last 2 times, or 2 different Lowe's we went to, just didn't have it. So we've got the filter, it's ready to install. We just need to find a Lowe's that actually has this adapter so that we can put it in there, and we'll get that done. And the final thing we have is, I have to keep back and looking at my notes, door hinges. I think Coachman went a little too high end maybe on these hinges. They're very sturdy, and I understand they're designed to keep all your cabinets and doors closed while you're driving, and they do that. But the problem is they're so stiff and hard that repeatedly opening and closing your cabinet doors, they'll actually pull out the anchoring screws that's in the particle board to keep them in there. And so we're trying to find the right product to change out and put them in. And I understand the particle board use, and almost everybody does that because weight is such a huge issue. And particle board is lighter weight than hardwood is. But these hinges are beefy and big. And they're very, very stiff, and there are a lot of them. And you can see we've already had to move these to a different area because they pulled out. So we think we've just got to find a different hinge. And that's about all of those that I want to go through, and we're going to wrap it up here. But I think the big question to answer is, if you went back in time 5-6 months, would you buy something else? Would you look at something different? And the answer is absolutely not. We could not be happier. And again, we've got a lot of experience in RVs, A's, B's, C's, B+. We have had them all. And a lot of different manufacturers, Fleetwood, Tiffin, Thor, and now Coachman. And from design to build quality to ease of use to comfort, all of those things factored in, absolutely would buy it again in a heartbeat. Wouldn't think twice about it. Very, very happy with it. So I'm not sure what the next video is going to be, but we'll see. And we look forward to seeing you back then.